Hey, good morning. I'm on one today. I'm on one big time today. In fact, I'm going to lean back so that you all can see me clearly today. Where's the pride in this world? I mean, where's the discipline in this world? Can I ask you, and I'm going to get into Coach K, and the problem with our kids today isn't the kids, but it's a lot different. But I got to ask, I'm so tired of this, and maybe I got triggered yesterday by this guy, Beto O'Rourke. Now, I know the deal. You can't win in Texas as a liberal man, so you've got to change your name. The dude's name is Robert Francis O'Rourke. And to win, he goes against his own name and starts calling himself Beto. And this drives me nuts. And nobody sees through this crap. Like, we hire politicians. Let me put that back up. Politicians think so little of you that they can basically do whatever the hell you want. Kamala Harris and Biden clearly don't like each other, so the press secretary has to send a tweet, which in our world, oh man, if you tweet it, it must be freaking true. What a load of crap. Whatever happened to real people running this deal? Whatever happened to real people in charge? Guys that are war heroes. Guys that have come up and done something, built something. Now we got these freaking people running our lives that are so insecure and not good at what they do, they pander. Well, I'm going to change my name. Well, I'm going to tweet something. I think Ted Cruz, and whatever you think about Ted Cruz, I really don't care. Because what people do is they don't stay on the message, they attack the messenger. Ted Cruz said this about O'Rourke, so he changed his name to Beto and hit it with a grin during an election, a senatorial election between the two of them. That's exactly right. We do this crap all the time. I go back to Jimmy Carter where all he did was smile. How y'all doing? Everybody okay? And everybody bought it. And you know what we had? When I was a kid, 17, 18, whatever I was years old, I learned about the word inflation and I saw gas prices going through the frickin' roof because we elected a guy because he smiled and he seemed like a nice guy. How about we get some tough-ass people with a little bit of frickin' pride? How about we do that? How about we get some folks in office that have some stones to them, that have some sack to them, that sack the living hell up and don't pander? How about we have somebody in office that respects you and me, the taxpayers, enough to be who the hell they are, and then when they get into office, defend us? Indianapolis is a blank hole right now. It's a shithole. I'm sorry, but it is. We had riots a couple summers ago. You know what our dumbass mayor did? Our dumbass mayor told police stand down. I'm not even sure he did, and I don't want to get into why he didn't do it because there's a lot of rumors going around, and I don't want to get into anything I don't know for sure. But the bottom line is when the mayor needed to be seen of Indianapolis, he wasn't anywhere. So what people do? They rioted. Oh, great. What'd the police do? Got pissed off, had to stand down. What'd the city do? Got destroyed and is still destroyed. And we see it all across our country. You know what I want? I want a refund. I live in Indianapolis proper. I want a freaking refund. I want somebody to say, hey, Dan, I got to put my background up, but I don't want to get lost. I want somebody to say, hey, Dan, we didn't use the police right. Stand down and let people destroy a city? And businesses haven't come back. Small businesses, diverse businesses, white businesses, black businesses, are not coming back. People go downtown Indy right now, and it's not only Indy, it's everywhere. Well, you know who our mayor is? He's a lifetime frickin' politician, and I've had enough. Honest to God, this Beto thing, you guys call it triggered. Okay, I'm triggered. When are real people gonna be respected? Like people say, well, you're a Trumper. I'm not a Trumper. I freaking voted for me in the election. Last two, I wasn't voting for Hillary. I wasn't voting for Trump. I wasn't voting for this guy. Biden, no chance. They didn't earn my vote. I voted for me. D-A-N-D-A-K-I-C-H. Why? Because I think I was the best candidate among those clowns. I mean, we got hidden freaking emails. Somehow we got hidden emails of Hillary Clinton, yet we can find every email from 100 years ago of the Washington football team, and that doesn't alert everything. It's unbelievable. Somehow, same thing in this world, somehow 650,000 emails, and this isn't political, this is just the world that we live in and the media that wants to spin it their way, 650,000 effing emails. And the only guy, John Gruden, he's the only one that had anything damaging in him. I don't blame Gruden for suing. I don't blame Gruden for suing at all. It'll drive you freaking nuts if you pay attention to this crap. It'll drive you nuts. That's why normally I don't pay I do pay attention, and my wife's coming on here later. She really pays attention. And then, for the love of all things holy, everybody and their mother, everybody is a freaking scientist now. That's right, everybody's a scientist. Everybody knows about ivermectin. Everybody knows about what shot you should get. Everybody knows about COVID. Everybody knows. Hell, even the damn guy, Fauci, who is in charge of this, hell, there's so many corrupt things in his background, and he's in charge of our public health. When the hell does it stop? When the hell does it stop? Can somebody tell me? When the hell? It's not stopping. And it's not going to stop. You know why it's not going to stop? Because people like me sit in chairs and bitch, whine, and moan and don't do anything about it. So I'm thinking about running for mayor of Indianapolis. I seriously am. I'd have to give up this. I'd have to give up a lot of things. But I would lose. I would get my ass kicked. But I don't care. I've had enough. I got the UPS guy giving my wife Lee's office 30 minutes on ivermectin. So all of a sudden, what did Donnie say? Donnie puts all this together. He said, I got my degree in Google research. It's freaking incredible. Go get a shot. Someone's going to yell at you. Don't get a shot. Someone's going to yell at you. When did you all become freaking scientists? When did the whole world become scientists? When did the little slap blank media reporter, little fat ass guy with crumbs on his shirt that doesn't respect his own profession, when did they become the experts? When did they become the word on what you and I are supposed to do? Will somebody please, by God, explain that to me? When I coached, you'd look out there and you'd see all these fat ass guys with crumbs all over them, not dressed well. They're all in the media. Media doesn't even respect their own job. A couple do. Pat Forty does. And these are the guys that are telling you and me what we're supposed to do. It's a damnedest thing alive. There's this idiot named Dan Wolken. Dan Wolken is the writer for USA Today College. He never gets anything right. He never puts anything out there that you go, like he said this Fuentes guy at Virginia Tech is going to be a superstar. I had guys in Indianapolis tell me that Archie Miller is going to be the greatest coach ever at Indiana. These media guys know nothing. Yet they're out there telling you and me how we're all supposed to live. Guy in Indianapolis called Carson Wentz a bad teammate. Why? Because he didn't get vaccinated. Said he would drive him to the airport. Hope they cut him. Why? Because some media puke didn't like that Carson Wentz didn't get vaccinated. Like these idiots are our Lord God end all be all. And the professors are worse. The professors are the absolute worst, what they're teaching your kids. I dealt with the worst people in the world, professors. And I got to tell you, how would they know anything? How would a professor know nothing? You know what a professor does? Sits in their little office, teaches their little class, goes to their little coffee shop, and acts like they know nothing. They got no life experience. They got nothing. But we listen to these idiots. And don't even get me started on movie stars. But my point is this. When the hell are we going to start getting real in this country? I'm thinking about running for mayor. And I'll tell you this. If I'm a mayor of a city, there ain't going to be no rioting. There ain't going to be no rioting. There might be rioting in Kenosha, Wisconsin today. I don't know. But in a city that I'm doing, I'm protecting the taxpayer. Tax the rich, AOC, my ass. I ain't rich, and I'm taxed up to my backside. I guess I would be considered rich compared to most people. Probably in the 1%, I don't know. But there's some money, and there's real money, and I'm somewhere below some money. And I'm taxed within an inch of my life. I'm probably in the 1%. I don't want to hear that crap. What I want to see is our tax money go to something good and not have some idiot politician change his name so that he can pander for votes. I'd like to see a guy that's a war hero. Pat Tillman, God rest his soul, would have been the perfect president. I'm so freaking tired. My name is now Beto. So if he runs in Northwest Indiana or Cleveland or Detroit, does he have to change it to Serbian name? Because that's where all of us Serbs moved. In Southern Indiana, myself Daryl and my other brother Daryl. I mean, what the? I used to every night go to sleep watching either CNN or Fox. Now I can't stand the crap because I can't stand the person delivering the news. I'll tell you one thing that Trump did. One thing that Trump did is expose what we all knew, which is these jackass news organizations are so one-sided. It's incredible to me that we're not smart enough as a nation to call people out that pander. But if you're on the proper side of all this crap, which is the left side, if you're a flaming lib, then guess what? You get to say whatever the hell you want. I mean, if you're a liberal that is so liberal, I don't care who you are, man, you say whatever you want. And if you're on the right side, if you're a flaming conservative, you say whatever you want to, as long as you're crazy. As long as you're crazy on either side, you're good, man. Honest to God. And don't say anything about either side, the crazies. That's amazing to me. It's the damnedest thing I've ever seen. That's a PSA for you. I'm sorry, but y'all needed a PSA. I'm sitting there watching this guy. My name is now Beto. It's Beto. My name is Beto, and I want your vote. My real name is Robert, and my last name is O'Rourke, but I'm going to change my name because I know that you crazy people will decide, hey, man, hey, we're all right. We're with you because you changed your name. Stop it. Figure this out. I got a big show for you today. I got a monster for you today. I got Allison Williams. I got my wife, Lee. I got Bobby Carpenter coming on next. How could there be a better show than that? I don't know, but we're going to talk some NFL. But every once in a while, I got to give you a PSA because y'all are nuts. I mean, don't offend the people on this side that are nuts. Don't offend the people way over there that are nuts. How about we take care of real people? Doesn't matter, black, white, immigrant, I don't care. How about we take care of real people? My God, I'll be back. When we have guests, it's legends only. And Bobby Carpenter, national champion. You can see him on Outkick at Carp's Corner, first-round draft choice. I think he's the best. I love listening to him, whether it was on games on the radio or Carp's Corner. Hey, Bobby, thanks for joining us. Number one, I want to get right into this. When you look at the NFL, who do you see as the best team?
Oh, goodness, Dan. I mean, this year across the sports spectrum, you're trying to figure that out, whether it's NFL, college football, whatever it might be. Things are kind of topsy-turvy. And I think it was due to us trying to figure out, does last season mean anything? And so coming into this year, we thought it did, and it looks like it may have not. For my money, the Green Bay Packers are getting back Aaron Rodgers. To me, he's still the best quarterback in the game, playing at an extremely high level. Their defense is playing unreal right now. They're doing a fantastic job. And so I would put them in the bucket in the NFC. I'm still not ready to rule out the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Tom Brady, even though they didn't look great last week against Washington. You'll have those things in the NFL where certain games, teams just kind of struggle a little bit, and maybe can't find their footing and lose to a team that they shouldn't lose to. And then on probably the AFC side of things, I think the Buffalo Bills are pretty good. I think the New England Patriots, and this is always the case, his Bills teams play better the second half of the year than the first half. You see them starting to round into form. He realizes what kind of team he ultimately has. They're playing really good football right now, and you see the development and maturations of their quarterback, Mac Jones. So those are kind of the four teams that I'm looking at that I'm really high on at the moment.
Bobby, why does everybody, and I mean everybody, not mention the Titans, given all that the Titans have done and who they've done it against?
Well, because a lot of what they've done, Dan, was with Derrick Henry. Now, I know they went and got a win without him, and they're able to manufacture that. Their defense is playing really well. They're doing it in unique ways on offense. Ryan Tannehill's playing some good football. They're utilizing his legs in the red zone. You see the bootleg on the goal line. Like, they're playing really smart football. Mike Vrabel's a heck of a football coach. And I just have to see it for a couple of weeks, sustainable, to see how they've morphed and shifted their offense. I love Adrian Peterson. I think he's still a productive running back in the NFL. But if you're talking about replacing a guy like King Henry, who the numbers he can put up and the way he can dictate a game, I'm going to have them do that for a few weeks before I'm ready to kind of keep them up there. But make no mistake about it. Before that, I would have said the class of the AFC is definitely the Tennessee Titans.
What do you see out of Mac Jones? Like, what's going on with him?
I was sitting there, I was over at Ohio State's practice yesterday and talking to some NFL scouts and, trying to evaluate quarterbacks and what they like. And, arm strength is a little bit like speed in a wide receiver. Like, you need a requisite amount of it, but it's not the be all end all. Like, accuracy and anticipation are far more important. And if you look at Mac Jones, you watch what he's able to do. I know he's in the same offense as Tom Brady, was, but there's a lot of that there. There's a lot of that Drew Brees. He's not going to be a guy that'll sit there and be able to throw it, 75 yards down the field. He may not have that massive cannon, but what he is able to do is you watch him in the pocket, Dan. He's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, getting through those reads really quickly. And then when he throws the ball, he puts it in precise areas. And so he pushes it down the field enough, and they're able to make some plays down the field. And it's not that he has a weak arm, but what his strengths are exactly what align to the value of today's game. The ability to get through reads and put the ball on your receivers in a timely manner. Mac Jones has done a heck of a job of that. And I don't know if we should be surprised. I've talked to some coaches, and the old GM for the Giants, George Young, who helped Parcells build those Super Bowl teams in the 80s. His philosophy was, draft great players out of big time schools and then ask them to do the same things they did well in college. And that's basically what the Patriots are doing with Mac Jones.
Hey, Bobby, I want to go back to you as a player. All right.
Well, that's way back now, Dan. We're just getting old now.
As a linebacker, all I heard was, man, Patrick Mahomes and that offense is broke. I mean, I literally heard that on one of the morning shows. And I'm thinking to myself, Bobby, and you can speak to this as a player. You said it earlier, like, teams go through things. The last undefeated team is 1972, for crying out loud, right? Where do you see Mahomes in this offense? Where do you see the Chiefs?
So there were some things mechanically that Mahomes, was struggling with. Like, he does a lot of things that nobody else can do. But the thing is, Dan, like in any sport, you have to have the fundamentals and mechanics down properly. You have to be able to get through and make the routine plays look routine. And I think Pat Mahomes, you fall in love with a little bit of what people are maybe saying about you, how you've won, and you remember these huge plays. And I think Pat Mahomes, for lack of a better analogy, was trying to hit home runs all the time. They're trying to take shots down the field. And the knock on Andy Reid, who I played against him 9 times in 4 years when I was with the Dallas Cowboys. I believe I played him again and with Detroit. We played him a lot when he was with Philly. And the knock on him always was just stop the passing game. He'll eventually get bored running the football. And the Chiefs really haven't had a good rushing attack this year. They haven't really tried to run the football all that much. And so that they've just tried to push the ball and make these big plays. They get impatient. And so as you see them now, they're getting Travis Kelce back in the mix. I think Patrick Mahomes is being a little bit more comfortable with what he's doing. And then also getting Chris Jones back, their defensive tackle. It's helped their defense dramatically because it's really, really hard to just outscore people all the time. And so if you can kind of give yourself a little bit of help, I think you're starting to see that now.
Well, hey, I got to ask you a couple of things about college football because your Ohio State Buckeyes are right here in the middle of it. Hey, Bobby, there's a scenario. Let's just say for sake of argument, these teams all play each other. Do you think a 2-loss, not necessarily Ohio State, but any one of these 3 teams, Michigan State, Michigan, Ohio State, you think a 2-loss team gets in?
I don't really want to see a 2-loss team get in from any
either.
conference as long as there's better options. I mean, Dan, there may be a day where there's like one undefeated team and one or two 1-loss teams that are worthy of getting in. And then outside of that, like maybe you have to take that 2-loss team. But this year, you have Georgia at the top, Georgia and Bama, like that thing's going to play itself out a little bit. And you're going to see what's going to happen there with the SEC. If Oregon wins out, they're getting in. The Big Ten champ is going to get in as long as they're a 1-loss team. You've got Cincinnati sitting there. Notre Dame will probably have 1 loss. Heck, Oklahoma State might have 1 loss. Like, I'm not a proponent of teams that play good schedules. They beat some quality teams, and maybe their schedules aren't elite. But you know what? They've won every game. They have enough data marks on there where you could say, hey, I watched them play a team that we thought was pretty good, and they looked really good in that game. And so I don't know about putting that 2-loss team in there, whether it's Ohio State, whether it's Bama, who cares? Oklahoma, like none of that stuff really matters to me. I just, as long as there's better options, I do think that the regular season, which in college football is sacred. It's always meant so much that I don't want to see that be diminished under this 4-team playoff. When they expand, there's going to be 2-loss teams that get in. But right now, you should be able to find 4 teams that either are undefeated or have 1 loss.
How good do you think Ohio State is?
Pretty darn good. It's amazing. I always say I'd like to talk to NFL scouts who see a lot of teams. I was talking to a guy, he covers, most of the East Coast, dips into Ohio a little bit. He was at Ohio State just to watch a particular guy or two. But, he's down at Georgia. He's down at Bama. He's been at Pitt. He sees most of the Eastern Seaboard and a lot of those really talented teams, in the SEC. And he's like, Georgia's defensive front's phenomenal. He's like, if Ohio State could block that up, it's like they're a lot like Bama last year. Their defense isn't phenomenal, but it's good, and it may end up being close to great by the end of the year. It's been improving, but they can score the football. So if they can protect, they have those elite receivers on the outside. And coming into the season, I didn't know if this team was good enough that they'd be able to play with the likes of Georgia or Bama, but I don't think there's a flawless team out there this year like there's been in the past. And so all of those teams, they have warts, as Bill Parcells used to say. There are flaws, and it's just a matter of, is the matchup going to benefit your ability to get to those flaws?
Hey, Bobby, I want to jump back to the NFL. Again, I want to talk to you as a player. I had a guy tell me yesterday, former NFL guy, tell me, Belichick intimidates a lot of coaches, and he does not intimidate Bruce Arians, Andy Reid. Do you think that's true? Do you think Belichick has an advantage the minute he walks into the building against another coach?
Then you've been a coach. I mean, any player, like when you're playing someone who's elite, sometimes you can outsmart yourself. And you start thinking like, well, they might do this or they might do that. How would I attack me? And your Bill Belichick, he does something different every game. Well, yeah, that's all well and good, but focus on what you do well. Try to do more of that. Look at what they do well and try to have them do less of that. Like that's the Bill Belichick mantra. Defense, let's take away what they do the best. And I'm sitting up there in meetings like, this seems pretty simple. If they throw to this guy 65% of the time, we'll double cover him every time until they start beating us with somebody else. But odds are they're going to get bored. They're going to get impatient. They're going to want to do what they always like to do. And so force them to do something that's uncomfortable. And then on your side of the ball, like offensively, like, hey, find out where they're weak a little bit, but what do you do? How have you constructed your team? Just continue to do that really well. You mentioned Bruce Arians. I don't think he's intimidated by anybody. And that goes back to his Steelers days, playing the Pats as an offensive coordinator. You had mentioned Andy Reid. He's been in the game long enough. He's seen it. He understands, and he knows what he has with an offense that he can score. I think your guy that you were talking about earlier with the Tennessee Titans, Mike Vrabel's not afraid of him. I'll tell you that much right now. Like, Mike Vrabel sat in those rooms, and if there was anybody that gave crap back to Bill Belichick more than Mike Vrabel, I'd like to see him, because he used to always question Bill, and he's almost like a folklore legend there at Gillette Stadium with what he would be able to do. And so I do think there's a certain group of coaches who understand, hey, he's good, but listen, the guy walks. He doesn't levitate. He can't walk across the water. He puts his pants on one leg at a time, for heaven's sake, Dan. Like, he can't just wish away the game and put a score up on the board. He still has to coach it. And so those guys understand that. I
always felt like when I played and worked for Coach Knight that we had the advantage with the officials, particularly at home, is like they're scared. They know where their bread's buttered. Hey, a couple other things before I let you go. I always ask people this because I'm fascinated. You guys played a national championship game in 2002. You basically lost the game, and then a flag came out. What was your feeling between, crap, and when the pass interference ended up getting called?
Oh, goodness, man. Now we're going back. This is what's sad. I was talking to some of the guys, Craig Krenzel's on that team, Maurice Claret. We've had a couple guys pass away off that team. AJ Hawk, good friend of mine. And I'm like, man, we're going to have our 20-year reunion next year.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's not amazing, Dan, because it means that I'm getting old. I'm sitting here talking to some of these guys now, and they come through recruiting at Ohio State. And I'm like, I'm trying to relate to them. And, being around college kids, it keeps you young. It gives you a window into the younger population demographic that you would have no other way to get into. And I'm starting to talk to them. And then, one of their dads leans over, was like, yeah, I was a huge fan of yours. Like, growing up, I'm like, gosh, dog it, man. Like, it's crazy. So, it reminds you how old you're getting. But back to your original question, it seemed honestly like it was probably 5 or 10 seconds on the field. It was probably like Kawhi's corner 3 against Philly. You watch that thing hit the rim, roll around, like it's hanging there. And you could see the ref, and you go back and watch it. He's trying to get to the flag, and he has to kind of double pump it. But we're like looking, trying to lobby for the call. He gets it out. It was honestly, it was an impactful call. Jonathan Vilma and I, who's, with Fox, we used to go round and round about it all the time. They made the call, and frankly, and he admitted this, and so did DJ Williams, their other linebacker. I mean, there was 50 NFL players on the field that day. It was something sick. And both of them admitted to me, they're like, we shouldn't even have been there. And I'm like, exactly. You shouldn't. You guys were significantly more talented than we were as a football team. And I'll tell you this, what they did, Dan, we were amazed preparing for that game. We watched what they did. They ran 7 or 8 plays on offense and ran 7 or 8 coverages, defenses. I mean, they just literally came out and we're better than you. And Mark D'Antonio was our defensive coordinator, schemed up a great game plan. Heck, we had Mel Tucker on that staff. We had a lot of great coaches on that defensive side of the ball. Did a great job, slowed them down. Because, they had Andre Johnson, Willis McGahee, Kellen Winslow. They were loaded. And then defensively, we were able to make just enough plays on offense to kind of get a couple touchdowns, get the lead, and then kind of hang on for dear life, man. But that flag, it felt like it was about 10 or 15 seconds.
Hey, Jim Tressel, your coach, after the game had the greatest. I use this as a coach, and I use it as a broadcaster. Kellen Winslow was on that team, right?
Yes.
So his dad was doing the sideline.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked Coach Tressel, was that pass interference? And you know what Tressel said? He said, very dry, well, Kellen, the definition of pass interference is when the referee throws the flag and says pass interference.
Oh yeah, it's great. That's honestly, Tress is one of the smartest guys around, and he obviously does a great job of deflecting controversy and just giving you a dry answer. But being a coach, when you're a player, I try to tell my guys this: they're holding me, they're fouling me. And I feel like that's when you're getting old. It's the same stuff the coaches would tell you. It's not a penalty unless they call it.
That's it.
If they didn't throw the flag, it isn't it. And if they threw it, it isn't. So deal with it. Figure out how they're calling the game and get better. But that's a phenomenal story, Dan, because I had completely forgotten about that.
Hey, Bobby, I saw it, and I was coaching. I know exactly where I was. I was in Northern Illinois getting ready for a game, and I was rooting like hell for you guys. And I saw that quote, and I'm like, I'm using that for the rest of my life. Did you ever play with Vrabel? Did you play with him, and did you play with Luke Fickell?
So no, Fick was my linebacker coach for a couple years here, and then Vrabes was already in Kansas City. I think by the time I got to New England, he was done. I played against him when he was in KC and I was in Dallas. But one of the great things about Ohio State, and, there's a couple other schools that are like this, but you've been to Columbus. It's really a nice place to live. It's grown a lot, and guys come back here in the off season. And so, I became good friends with Joey Galloway, with Mike Vrabel, guys like that. Eddie George would come back. They'd come back and work out all the time. And it was unbelievable for like a young person. When I was, 20, 21 years old, we get done with workouts, and AJ, myself, Anthony Schleier, we go to, lunch or go to brunch with, Mike Vrabel and, sit there with him and Galloway and kind of talk through life and everything. You got a chance to kind of know them. And that's them like trying to feel young. Cause I know what that feels like being that guy now, trying to go out and mentor and kind of help these guys. But as a young player, it was incredibly impactful, not talking about maybe necessarily X's and O's, but how to prepare, how to ultimately go on and be a pro, and how to kind of operate your life and how things will ultimately change for you, once you graduate. And so getting some of those life skills and life lessons from those guys, unbelievable. And then you also, develop a lifelong friend out of it. And it's, heck, I'll tell you this, like Joey Galloway and I, we're coaching our sons together this last year in Pee Wee football. They're both sixth graders. We went undefeated. It was an awesome time. But like, people are like, you play with Joey? I'm like, man, Joey's 10 years older than me. He had kids way late in life. Like, get out of here, dude. Like, he played 17 years in the league. He graduated like 93. But that's the type of stuff that you're privileged to be a part of. And I'm really thankful for it.
All right, nobody's watching this. You swear at the kids. You let them know, hey, you little, get me that.
You know what? I'll get a little fiery. There will be times where I'll use words that I probably shouldn't. But one of the things I do try to do as a coach, Dan, is I never try to yell at kids. I mean, there may be a little bit of colorful language as they get old enough and appropriate enough to hear it. But if you look at youth sports, there's so many coaches that are just screamers. Do this better. Do that. Do this. I'm like, where's the coaching point? What are we telling them to do? Being better is not a coaching point. Hey, stay lower, get this leverage, be inside, be outside, use your hands a little bit more, take away this or take away that, but give them some instruction. Like, anybody can yell. You yell at a dog. Your kid, like a young player, they're so malleable. Like, if you give them information, they'll be able to accept it. And so sometimes you do it in a little funny way. Maybe you use a little colorful language, but I sit here and scratch my head as I watch these coaches that just scream all the time. Like, man, it's not helping them. These aren't college kids. It's not like they're not trying to do it right. They just don't know how to do it right. So help get them there.
Hey, Bobby, to that point, here's a pet peeve of mine. I see this in the pros. I see this in college. When players don't play well, Belichick, no. Bruce Arians, no. Vrabel, no. And Andy Reid, no. But so many coaches are afraid to criticize a player. Like, all I've seen this year is, well, that's on me. He played bad, but that's on me. Are you guys so soft in football that you can't take a little criticism publicly from a coach? Are you guys that now, basketball, soft as hell. But football, are you guys that soft?
I mean, Dan, it is a generational thing where, like,
I know,
bristle at criticism. And I'm like, listen,
I know,
if it's constructive. Like, I'm not saying you're a bad player. And believe me, there's times where, listen, on the coach, I didn't put our team in a great position to succeed. I know that. I'm going to take some ownership of it. And you understand, how that interacted. But I don't think there's a problem or say, hey, I've got to be better. But listen, I'm putting our guys in some positions. We've got to get better. We're going to take it. And Belichick said, we're going to take it. And sometimes the worst thing you can hear a coach say in a press conference, and my goodness, I've heard Luke Fickell say this, and I knew exactly what it means. He's like, we saw that. We're going to get that corrected this week. We'll make sure that doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
That makes certain. Like, the coach isn't saying, hey, you're a bad player, saying we're going to beat this into you in practice. So there'll be no excuses ever again.
I don't know how you were, but with Coach Knight, when you're a player, you always read at that time it was the paper, because you knew he was talking to you in the paper. And you'd be like, oh, crap, we're going to be practicing at 6 a.m. I know what that means. You know what I mean?
Oh, there's nothing worse than when you hear a coach come out like, and obviously we'll get that corrected, but hey, you know what? They were in better shape than we were. We got gas at the end of the game.
Yes.
We were not juice. Like, we'll make sure that's corrected.
Oh.
That's code for, hey, we're getting up early and we're running. And we'll make sure that we never lose another game
Yes.
like that again. Like as a player, like, oh gosh, why couldn't we have just have won that game? Like this is going to be hell for the next week.
Yeah. And as a coach, when I was coaching for Coach Knight, well, you know, our defensive setup wasn't any good. And I'm like, crap, I got a young family. I'm going to get fired. Son of a bitch. This is going to be bad. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
You just know.
They give you those little nuggets. They throw it in there, and it's read between the lines, figure out exactly, you know, what they're saying in those coaching interviews. And some of the best ones, I mean, they speak to their coaches, you know, they speak to their players that way. And the players and coaches, when they're smart, they understand it, they get it. And that's a little bit of motivation to make sure like, hey, we don't want to do this. Like and some of our assistants would tell us they're the same thing. Like, guys, we got to play better. You know, I want to see my kids. I want to try to put them to bed. You know, we got trick or treat this week. Can we get some stuff done and make sure we take care of things? So I'm not here till 11 o'clock and miss my kids getting dressed up. Like all of those things matter. And so when you have a close knit, and I'll say this too, when you have a close knit team and a close knit coaching staff, you can be brutally honest with each other and you can drive guys because they know it's coming from a good place and they'll respond because they know you care about them. And so when you see some of these teams, like people know Belichick, like, he's in there working as hard as anybody. He's not a do as I say, not as I do guy. Like people have joked about Bill, the fact that they think that there might be two of them, the amount of work that he's able to get done. Like it's not even human. Like the players would joke with him about that. So when a coach tells you we need a little more from you, you know how much they're giving, that makes it all okay.
Yeah, I totally get that. I think that you're absolutely right. I mean, anyway, Bobby, I appreciate it, man. By the way, so did you ever have anything like this? When I was coaching at Bowling Green, I had a player that I got, you know, really close to. He's a player of the year. We played great in the second half. I asked him after the game, I said, hey, Anthony, what'd you say to the team? Why did we play so well? Bobby, you know what he said? He goes, Coach, can I be honest with you? I said, yeah. Because you get a relationship after a year. He goes, I told these MFers that I got a hell of a party set up at my apartment after this game. And if we lose, Coach going to have us back here practicing. So we ain't losing. You know what I mean? So,
hey, listen, you got to be honest with your guys, man.
Yes.
Some of the best speeches, you know, that you have, you give it to them serious. Let's go get this thing done. And then let's make sure we can celebrate after. Because you think about playing and coaching, you put so much work and time in. And you hear, especially guys in the NFL and college football, just because it's a very cyclical thing week after week after week, you have about 6 or 7 days in between each game. And so you get like 3 or 4 hours to really enjoy, maybe 5 hours to enjoy that win before you're on to the next one. And so like guys understand how precious that is. And so they'll address it like, let's make sure that we're having a good time. Let's win this thing and then go enjoy it, have some fun together before we get back to work. And like, believe me, those are the times that I remember most in my career. You know, the big wins. Heck, we were in Dallas when we knocked off New Orleans. They were undefeated in 2009. No one was giving us a chance to win that game. And we're playing there. It's prime time. And I got to lock up Jimmy Graham half the game. You know, you're running around like all this stuff, man. And it was phenomenal. Like you win that game, man, you feel like a hero. And then it's like, hey, let's go have some drinks, relax, and have a good time before we move on.
Right. Hey, how tired are you after a game?
Oh, man.
Running around with Jimmy Graham.
I look back on that now, as old as I am today, and my goodness, like I remember how fatigued I was, Dan, and like I don't know if I still have it. And that's what a lot of guys, you see like MMA fighters, boxers, like eventually in football, you lose that edge. Like I can do it a little bit, but I can't get amped up to go in there and get in 50 or 60 car wrecks a game anymore. Like I just psychologically, like I don't have that type of toughness in me. It has been beaten out of me to this point. So, you know,
did you know as a player, Bob, did you know I don't have it? Did you know when you were in a uniform that I'm done? Did you know?
You know, I think I still could have probably played a little bit longer. I still enjoyed it. I was getting beat up. The thing that was I was bouncing around a little bit at the end of my career. My last year in New England, I'm like, you know, I was 30 years old. My family was getting a little bit older. And it's like, do you want to go through a whole off season, a whole training camp again, you know, and risk like, you know, maybe you get released, maybe you go through it all. And like, I love the game. it was a big piece of me, but I'm like, you know what? I got other things that I do love and enjoy. And my wife and family had sacrificed so much to that point. I'm like, I kind of, we're having our third kid. I'm like, I kind of owe it to them. We've dragged them all around the country. Now at this point, maybe it's time for me to kind of give a little bit back and be that person. And, my dad played 10 years and he's like, you'll know when it's time. And, for him, cause when I was young, used to ask my dad, like, man, why the heck did you quit playing football, man? Why would you ever retire?
Right.
And you don't understand it. And then my rookie year in training camp, I'm like, Dad, how the hell did you make it through 10 of these? Like, this is ridiculous. And he said the thing that happened is, I always love playing the game. And this is what it is. He's like, I got tired of preparing to play the games, not from a mental aspect, but physically you get beat up. And Dan, you see these guys now, and that's why I have immense respect for Tom Brady and the drive and desire. Like, it's physically hard to go get ready to practice. It's not the games. It's getting ready to go through maybe an hour and a half, 2 hour routine of stretching, hot tub, cold tub, all these different modalities they strap up to you to get you to a point where you can practice. And you do that every week for 17, now 18 weeks in hopes of getting to the playoff. And then your adrenaline kicks in late in the year and you ride it. But it's just such a long march. And he's like, he goes, I didn't enjoy practicing anymore. He goes, and I'd always liked it. And I think that kind of got to a point for me where, I was having some back stuff. My shoulder was bothering me. It's like, man, I used to love working out. I used to love coming to practice. And it's like just trying to hide these injuries all week to get to Sunday. And it just wears you down emotionally.
No, I get that, man. Bobby, that's some great stuff, man. Thanks for everything. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. That's awesome.
Oh, my pleasure, Dan. Hopefully we'll be able to do this again if you can build time. I know you're a very busy
Always.
guy.
Yeah, man. I'd have you on every day. Help. Yeah.
You've got a cavalcade of stars coming through. So hopefully, I'll be able to slide in somewhere where I belong at the bottom of the totem pole, and we can work this thing out maybe every week or a few times a week.
Yeah, cavalcade. Good word. That's an Ohio State word. At Indiana, we just say a lot. Thanks, brother.
My pleasure.
Oh man, that is fun. You can see Bobby every day. Carp's Corner, man. Go to @BCarp. I got this written down here. 3. I always screwed up the thing at the end, but Bobby's absolutely great. He's great on TV. He's great here. He's great everywhere. Before we go to a break, ladies and gentlemen, I've got 2 of the greatest bets ever for you tonight. Ever. Are you ready? Write these down. Sean Black, Dave Carell. Write these down. You guys that are on the YouTube chat, hold on. Write these bets down. You're going to like them. You ready? All right, here we go. Tonight, Indiana is playing at home. I could not believe this line. The line against St. John's is only -5.5 for Indiana. Now, if you want to buy the hook, go ahead. I'm not even buying the hook. Indiana's winning this game by double digits. Indiana is really good, and they're really deep. Fantastic guards for St. John's, but Assembly Hall at 9 o'clock tonight is going to be liquored up, and it's going to be crazy, and it's going to be fun, and St. John's is going to get down by 10 at half, and they're going to get their ass beat. If you want to bet the first half as well, bet the first half. Ryan Mueller, I'm going to give you the good stuff over here. Brian Hawes, I'm going to give you the next one is even easier. It is even easier. Butler stinks. Butler basketball is not very good. Michigan State is only getting 2.5. Not a chance. This is going to be over in the first 10 minutes. Michigan State is going to win again by double digits. Michigan State is going to roll Butler in Hinkle Fieldhouse. These 2 bets is all you really need. Then I'm going to give you the last 2 because I don't care if we went 2-2 yesterday. I'm still betting overs in the MAC games because I'm not going to watch every MAC play. But what do we got here? Northern Illinois and Buffalo over 60.5, and then Central Michigan and Ball State over 59.5. But I'm telling you right now, these 4 bets, 2 of them are locks. I call it DoorDash money. You know what DoorDash is? When you bet so much money that if by chance you get your ass beat, you got to go work at DoorDash like I did all summer. But man, oh man, I'm telling you, the bets on MAC games over, Northern Illinois, Buffalo, over 60.5, I just like it. I do. I just bet the over, and then Central Michigan and Ball State over 59.5. I just like those bets. I do. But I'm telling you right now, Indiana is really good. Trace Jackson Davis, an All-American. Michigan State's got 4 different bigs. They're playing them together. A.J. Hogarth, they're not playing them together. They're trying to figure out which one. Bingham, it looks to me to be the best so far. But A.J. Hogarth is really good. A.J. Hogarth is going to progress into a Denzel Valentine. He's not going to be as good. Denzel Valentine was the Big Ten Player of the Year as a senior, first-round draft. I don't think Hogarth's going to be that, but I like that kid. I really, really like that kid. Bryce Bennett on our YouTube chat says that it's going to be Michigan State by 20, and I got to tell you, I think it is. I do. I think Michigan State is going to absolutely roll. I did this, right? I told you last night, one of the bets that we gave was Miami minus 17 against Bowling Green. That one won so easy, I was standing on my head with that one. But the truth of the matter is, these two are easier. Indiana's going to roll. Look, if Indiana doesn't roll, then Indiana's a fraud. And I don't think Indiana's a fraud. Indiana beat the living hell out of Northern Illinois, a team that beat Washington. They beat the hell out of Eastern Michigan, except for a kid that got hot and made it close at the end. But 5.5, I could not. In fact, I'm making these bets right now. Right now is what I can make these bets. I'm telling you. Now, the MAC games, I just do that because late in the evening, I go to bed early. So late in the evening, I got something to root for. I don't know if those two are going to win. My 2 official bets that I'm counting on the record, because right now I am 5-3. For some reason, I feel the need to talk with my hands. 5-3, my 2 official bets. Indiana basketball minus 5.5 against St. John's Gavitt games, and Michigan State minus 2.5 against Butler. We're going to win them. We're going to win them easy, and our toes are going to be tapping. You all loved you some Allison Williams when we had her on last week. Again, Allison Williams is real people. Some of you jackasses got mad at her on Twitter because all she did was state her side of it. This is what I said earlier in the show. Just cut the crap out. None of you are COVID scientists. And even the COVID scientists don't know what the hell. So leave people alone that make their own damn choice, whether it's to get vaxxed like I did or not get vaxxed. My God. Don't give me gas. I don't need gas today. I'm in an enclosed room down here. We got A-dubs coming up. That's what we call the lovely, the talented Allison Williams next. Hey, welcome back. I am currently got my iPad out. I'm making my bets because I'm telling you, I'm giving you locks. The Indiana game lock, and of course, the Butler Michigan State game is a lock. You know her, you love her. She is the gutsiest woman alive because she did something that cost her money and she stuck with it. It is, ladies and gentlemen, Allison Williams. A round of applause. There you go.
Snaps.
Hey, A-Dubs, I went on a bit of a rant early today about like when are we going to start representing real people? And when did everybody become freaking COVID geniuses? All of a sudden, everybody knows everything about COVID. They got their degree in Google technology or something, these people, A-Dubs.
Well, I'm probably one of them. I'm probably one of them, according to the masses.
You made an informed decision based on you, so leave you alone.
Right? Yeah.
When are politicians going to start representing us? I'm thinking of running for mayor of Indy. True story.
Dude, I am all in on that. Amen. I think I've seen it a lot here in California too. And look, the biggest thing, Dan, is like at the local level, right? I mean, the Board of Supervisors meetings in San Diego, where I live, have been insane, and they've been going on for hours. I mean, people are lined up for blocks to speak, and this Nathan Fletcher guy basically doesn't care. It's craziness. I think it starts at the local level, but I think there's potential for a shift. I mean, if people like you are running, hell yeah, like let's get that wave going. We saw what happened in New Jersey with the state Senate rights, right? Like the Ed Durr, he's a truck driver. I think he spent $117 on his campaign, the majority of which was at Dunkin' Donuts or something, and he won. So if that can happen in New Jersey, maybe we'll see a shift across the country. People are fed up with politicians, especially I think the ones trying to control their lives and make decisions for them that they don't feel are in their best interest. So I think it's time for a change. I certainly hope it is. We'll see. But I mean, if you run, like, can I be your campaign manager? Do I have to move to Indy to do that? Like, how does this work?
It works. You're like the special guest that we bring up. Ladies and gentlemen, the woman who stood up to the monolith corporation, Allison Williams. She's one of us. You know what I mean? That's what we do. Are you kidding me?
Oh my gosh, that would be wildly entertaining.
That's the way we. All right, I don't want to make it political when A-Dubs comes on because no one's smarter in terms of sports. You follow this. You covered this for years. It's a passion of yours. College football, the rankings. What do you see when you looked last night at what was released? What's on your radar?
I'm so frustrated with them. First of all, I've done the mock seminar in Dallas or outside Dallas, where you go and you have the teams and you have the numbers and you pretend you're a member of the committee and you have to make selections. And I understand it's tough, right? Like, I mean, those are some really tough decisions that are being made, but honestly, I just have an issue with Cincinnati not in the top 4. You win your games, it's got to count for something. You've got 3 one-loss teams in front of them. Alabama, I understand, but I think there's an argument to be made for them to be in there over Ohio State. Now, like, I understand Oregon's loss is worse to Stanford, and they have probably a better win than Cincinnati. So again, I get it, but I just think at the end of the day, Cincinnati has a top 10 win on the road, beating Notre Dame. They're undefeated. Like, I think the eye test they pass. So I'm a little annoyed that they're not in the top 4. And I think it just speaks to kind of the name biases in that room, honestly.
They don't have a chance to play their way in, really. I mean, they have to rely on others to lose, which could happen in the Big Ten as Michigan State and Ohio State play this week.
This weekend.
You know, but SMU, I guess we're supposed to say, is pretty good. East Carolina is who they have next. I don't know that they have an opportunity to play their way in. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And like, maybe I think Houston in the conference championship game. So I think they have to win out. They have to win out big. I think it's going to come down to style points ultimately. And they're going to need a little bit of help.
Can I stop you right there?
Yeah.
When you went to, the mock deal, I went to it for basketball. When you went to the mock, committee, did they talk about style points? Did they talk about the need for that?
Not directly, but what it translates to is margin of victory. It also would boost where they stand, where their offensive ranks are, where their defensive ranks are. So it's insane how stat driven that is. And I think it's done to, prevent some of the biases and give like actual tangible data, things you can quantify, and eliminate the need for the eye test to a certain extent. But it factors into some of the data they analyze. Absolutely. So I think they have to win big. And obviously they're going to need help, but I have a feeling like the Big Ten is going to screw itself up. I just get that sense. Like, I don't even know if it's going to be Michigan State, Ohio State this weekend, or if it's going to be, Michigan, Ohio State in a few weeks. I just feel like something wacky is going to happen in the Big Ten, because we've seen it all season with like the Purdue upsets. I don't know. And I'm not totally sold on any team in the Big Ten. Honestly, I mean, are you? Like, Ohio State obviously is the best right now, but I feel like they have a lot of flaws. So I feel like the Big Ten could help them out. And the Pac-12, I feel like always does, right? I mean, who knows what will happen with Utah and Oregon this weekend, and how the rest of the conference or the season will play out for that conference. So I think there's an opportunity for Cincinnati to get the help they need. They obviously have to take care of business, but if they don't get in, it's just proof that the system is absolutely rigged against non-Power 5 teams.
You asked me, I saw Michigan State in person. I was not impressed at all. Like, I did not.
Michigan, I'm not impressed with.
Not really. I mean, I think they're okay. I think they're good.
Yeah.
Like I said this, Allison, and this goes a little bit against what you're saying, but I went to an Alabama game and they played Tennessee.
Okay.
I went to Cincinnati, Indiana, and I saw Michigan State, Indiana, and I'd put actually the game that I saw, I'd put Tennessee ahead of Michigan State or Cincinnati with just the eye test. One game. I thought wow. Tennessee was uber talent. They were right in the game. They fell apart, made one mistake. Next thing you know, but I don't think these Big Ten teams are great. I also think this is going to open up naturally. Like, I think Oregon may have a real problem at Utah, because I think Utah's. I do too.
Good. I do.
Do
too.
you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're always well coached. They're not going to beat themselves. I think Oregon, completely healthy, I would feel differently about, but I mean, that's the name of the game this time of the year, right? Especially. Yeah, I'm just like, the Big Ten to me, I can't get a good gauge on. Michigan, they've got the record, like 9-1, but I don't get excited about them. Like, there's something missing in the offense that I just can't get behind. I think they just all have their flaws. And of course, like, obviously every team does. I mean, I still kind of can't get past Georgia and what they're doing with their quarterback situation, right? I mean, Stetson Bennett is the quarterback of the number one team in the country. It's insane. And obviously they have a tremendously fabulous defense that helps and so forth. But it's so crazy. Like, the number one team in the country, you think would have this stud quarterback, this like 5-star guy, whatever. And you've got, Stetson Bennett and JT Daniels on the bench. So this year is just kind of wacky, I feel like. And probably in the end, it'll like play out like it always does when we're talking about Alabama.
Well, we are, and we in football we talk about Alabama. In the Big Ten, we talk about, if we're not talking about the teams, we talk about Jim Harbaugh. People don't. Jim Harbaugh, and I'm going to ask you. You covered him. Your thoughts on Harbaugh, covering Harbaugh, but the dude is 9-1.
I know.
Right?
I know. But this is what he does, Dan. Like, he wins 10 games and then he doesn't win the ones they want to win. And that's Michigan State, Ohio State, and the bowl game. It's a problem, but I get it. Like, who are you going to replace him with? That's the thing, right?
Right.
So I'm not calling for his head, but I do think there is a standard at Michigan and there is an expectation for which they hired him that he hasn't completely lived up to. But again, he wins 10 games every year and he goes to a major bowl game. He's got to find a way to beat Ohio State. Like, end the discussion, has to find a way to beat Ohio State.
Do you think that college football is becoming, or in danger of becoming, like college basketball? Let's be honest. The general fan, the macro version of fans out there is okay with the regular season in college basketball, but what do they watch? March Madness, right?
Right.
Do you think that college football, and for a guy like Harbaugh can win 10, 11 games, but if he doesn't make the college football playoff at some point, I don't give a damn what you won, right? You can beat Ohio State, but you got to, at some point, coaches are going to be like basketball coach. You got to make the Final Four. You got to make the playoff.
Right. I hear you. I think the thing that makes college football different is the Saturday dynamic. So where you can have a regular season of college basketball that plays out every night of the week, there is something like ritualistic about Saturdays in the fall in college football. So just for that reason alone, and I know you have Thursday night games and, MACtion midweek and Friday night games, whatever, but there is something that is ingrained with our culture when it comes to Saturdays in the fall and watching college football. So I think because of that and other factors too, but largely because of that and the way people shape their calendars around it, their family events around it, the regular season in college football will always have meaning and merit. There, for maybe the casual fan, if we expand to 12, that could turn into like more of a March Madness situation where they aren't really paying attention until the playoffs. But I don't think it will ever get to the way basketball is in that sense, just because of, again, the way the regular season is and the tradition around Saturdays in the fall with college football.
Do you think it is for coaches?
Is what? Oh, like
Meaning
the standard of, yeah, I think over time it does. Their fan bases have expectations, and when they aren't met, we're seeing it across the country. I mean, how many freaking Power 5 jobs are open right now? Head coaching jobs.
Now,
there's an insane amount.
Which one's
Virginia
which
Tech,
one do you?
Justin Fuente? Which one?
Which one's the best?
USC. Honestly, I mean, the market. I know LSU would be up there too, but probably one of those two. I think USC has. They're starting lower and have higher that they could go. LSU just won a national championship a few years ago, so you don't have the kind of like the lower short-term expectations that you would have at USC. Not that they're ever that low at USC, but I just think the brand recognition, the potential to win in the Pac-12 versus the SEC, right now, probably USC is a better job. As far as like a bigger job, maybe LSU, just again, for those same reasons I just mentioned, but I think USC is probably the better job. But it's just, I mean, look at the Pac-12, Washington State. There's a lot of openings. And I don't know do you get the sense there's enough candidates to fill them that are truly qualified? There aren't these like sexy coordinator names like there usually are. It's going to be interesting, the coaching carousel this year.
I would argue that if I were a guy being wooed by schools, my view would be, how is my path to the college football playoff? Is with Oklahoma and Texas coming into LSU, man, that's tough if they keep it at 4, which I don't think they will.
No.
The path a little bit easier at USC. So I would have a tendency to say I'm going to USC because I can get in the college football playoff easier. Does that make sense or no?
Yes, absolutely. That's what I was saying with playing in the Pac-12. You're more likely, I think, to be able to win your conference in the Pac-12 and pretty much guarantee yourself a playoff spot. But there's the recruiting dynamic of being able to get guys because they want to play in the SEC. But you do have to face Nick Saban a little more regularly. And who wants
at
that
some
as a
point
first-time head coach?
Quit, doesn't he? Doesn't he got to quit it? I mean, he's 100 years old.
People don't even realize his age, though. That's what's so interesting. I don't know if it's like the hair color. Like people don't realize him and Mac Brown are basically the same age. Everybody thinks Mac is so much older, and he's not. Our boy Saban, though, man, why would you? Like what else is he going to do? That's what I always look at with coaches. I think that's why I wasn't totally shocked that Roy Williams left before Coach K. I mean, not a huge difference. It's a year, but Roy golfs and he's like super into his grandkids and he has kind of hobbies outside of basketball. I mean, Saban, like that's their lives. What does Saban do? He goes to the boathouse for a little bit in the summer. I mean, he lives, eats, sleeps, breathes football and competition. And I'm sure he's, out on the course now and then, but I just don't think he has much of a life outside of the game. So I think it makes it really hard to walk away when you don't have a whole lot that you're into outside of your sport.
You worked with Mac Brown. He got a hell of a setup, right? Beautiful place. Why'd he come back? Like, is that the same thing you're talking about?
It's the itch, right? I think it was the way things ended at Texas. He wasn't ready to be done. He was kind of shown the door. And I think he had something to prove. It needed to be the right fit for him. Obviously, in North Carolina certainly was. Sally, his wife, had to prove she did. So there were definitely certain things he was looking for in a team, but I don't think his heart ever left. I think in the back of his mind, he always knew he would go back.
Yeah, if I didn't get in broadcasting and enjoy it, I know I would have gone back, and I didn't want to.
I think every coach's goal, though, honestly, Dan, sorry to interrupt you, should be to get that big contract and get fired, because like you are set for life. and you are making millions of dollars and get to do whatever you want. So like win, do your thing, and if you get fired, whatever. Like you're going to make 17 million just to do nothing. Like, that's insane. It's the best gig out there.
Allison,
don't get fired like me and make no money.
Me
That's
too.
The way to go. We didn't do that very well.
Allison, I said for years, I don't want to hear about the pressure of the Indiana or the Alabama or the LSU coach. The freaking pressure is being a MAC coach, because you get fired, you haven't made life-changing money.
No, you're not taking that money bag out the door with you. You just packing your stuff and leaving. Yeah. And you're not getting another shot. Mm-hmm.
They felt like they were doing me a favor, letting me keep my my company car for a month. It's like,
hey, keep the gas card for a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't get the $9 million over 3 years.
It's insane.
They pressure my ass on those guys with 5 years on their deal, man. That's crap. All right, we're gonna go some hot takes. You ready?
Right.
I want your opinion on a variety of things. There's 5 of them.
Okay.
All right. I don't know which Stephanie and Lauren, put up the first one so I know if we're going from 1 to 5 or 5 to 1. Oh, no, I do. The NBA does not miss Kyrie Irving.
False. Brooklyn
They do.
misses them. Yeah.
What do they miss about him?
Well, they're not playing very well without him. I think I think it's easy to be like, well, they don't miss him because he's a little bit of a headache and a crazy person, but you miss your stars. When your stars aren't on the court, you miss them. Whatever off the court and bizarreness they bring, I think he's still missed. And he's on my side with the vaccine stuff. So I'm going, we miss him.
I'm not. I was watching last night and I'd forgotten that Kyrie Irving was not playing. And I'm like, I don't know if they miss. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence with it, but I'll take your word for it.
Probably not the smartest, but
Steph Curry is the most fun player to watch in the NBA.
I'm trying to think of somebody more fun off the top of my head. I think start to finish, he is. You get there for the warm-ups. Like he's the guy you go early to see. That says something, right? Like you don't want to miss the warm-ups when Steph Curry's playing. So
I don't understand.
Sure.
I saw that the other day on TV. What was that about? What, people watch him warm up? Is that the deal?
Yeah, because it's like his crazy shots and he's doing all sorts of goofy things and he like interacts with fans. And I like him because he's always got a smile on his face with his mouthpiece hanging out. Like he's got some charisma. And obviously, I mean, like the kid just hits buckets. So sure, why not?
I think he's the most fun guy. And I did what you did. I'm like, the Greek freak. All right, yeah, he's fun.
But fun, talented, maybe, exciting, but fun. Yeah, I think I'd go Steph. I think
because he's not 7'9", or he's not a physical freak like LeBron. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and we love that, right? We love guys we can relate to in some capacity. Right. Like you could have a conversation with him and not need a ladder to be at his height. And you look at guys like LeBron or Giannis, and you think there's no way in hell I could ever do anything remotely close to them because of the physical difference. So I think that's a good point. There's like a relatability to Steph.
Yeah, he gives you hope.
Yeah, exactly. We could all use more of that these days.
Yeah, we all need hope. Down with dope, up with hope. Ohio State will beat Michigan State by 2 touchdowns or more.
Yeah, what's the spread on that? 19?
It's a lot, yes.
I was surprised it was that much.
I was too. I was very surprised.
No, I think it'll be closer.
Do you?
Yeah, I think it'll be closer. I think it'll be like a 10. I think Ohio State will win, but I think it'll be closer to like 10, 7-10. I don't think they're going to blow them out.
Yeah, I think at Ohio State's going to end up getting bad at the end, but I think it's going to be, you know what I mean? I think it's going to be a decent game. But it is interesting. That spread is like 19.5. And I saw that. I'm like, man.
Take that, right?
Michigan State is behind Michigan in the college football playoffs, so they can play the disrespect card, right? I mean,
I think so. I think you can. I mean, I don't even know if it's a disrespect card. I think it's the record they've had against them in recent years. Yeah. I think it's been like 7 straight they've lost or something like that to them. So I think there's that component. I think there's they've been at the top of the mountain. If this is where you want to be, this is who you have to beat. You're going into the shoe. There's a lot of familiarity with those guys. I think there's a lot of things Mel Tucker can play into with this. And the big one is if you are the team that we think we are, go out to the nation and prove it against the number 3 team in the country.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, I think it's going to be closer than that spread and people anticipate. It definitely could get away from them late, but I think it'll be a closer game throughout for sure.
I do too. Urban Meyer will be a huge success in the NFL.
That's your boy.
That's my boy.
No. I'm down on him.
What do you do?
It's not so much what he does. It's this. Okay, I guess it is what he does. I don't like, Dan, that he does these things and he leaves these teams and then he comes back and says, oh, this is for my health or this is for my family. And then his actions say otherwise. I think there is something about the lack of control over every aspect that he will have in the NFL as opposed to college that will make it difficult for him to have success. I don't know. I don't like the fit with him in the NFL. I don't know if it works with grown men, kind of the way he manages his players, or at least from like what I saw in that, like kind of the authoritarian a little bit style. I don't know how well that works in the NFL. I mean, we'll see. Like, well, the hell do I really know? I think he's a great developer of young men and instilling certain core beliefs and values. But I just feel like when you have grown men in the NFL, it takes a little different approach. Obviously, it's his first year. We'll see. I didn't like how that whole shit played down when he was back in Ohio and all that. I feel like it's going to be the stress of the job and he's got to step away for his own health at some point. Again,
I'm going to distree with you here. I've talked to him a number of times. He is my boy. I love him, but I do think that he studied the NFL for literally 2 years, almost daily, unbelievable. And I think that the authoritative thing, I think, went away once he got serious about the NFL. And I think the idea, and he was tough, like he's tough on coaches, he's tough on everybody. But I think that all went away. And I think he studied it enough and understands it enough. And actually, it's kind of interesting. He's invested. Like, one of the things that I've had people tell me there is, it's almost the opposite. Like, he's so invested in these players. He's so invested in helping them. And, he's certainly on the wrong side of the media now. And he would admit some of it is his fault, but I think he's going to be successful. But I was going to ask you this. I watched Trevor Lawrence here this weekend. I don't know. I don't see the ball come out of his hand like an Elway or I don't know about him as I think he's good. He's going to be good, but I don't know about him as a superstar, A-Dubs.
Right. Well, the other thing with Urban too, just before we talk about Trevor, to go back to that point, it's just so rare that it happens that guys can transition well from college to the NFL. So I just feel like the odds in general aren't in his favor of guys that are able to make that transition smoothly. I mean, Nick Saban, greatest dude of all time. It was terrible in Miami. So, there's a number of those examples. Yeah. So I think there is something that is just difficult for guys that have spent their entire careers in college to then take these head jobs in the NFL. Trevor, I haven't watched a ton of him, honestly, in Jacksonville. The little bit that I've seen, something's off, right? Because here's the thing with Trevor. He was one of those few guys that I covered in college that the ball just looked different coming out of his hands. Lamar Jackson was the other one that I remember watching at Louisville, and it was like, whoa, like that is not like the rest. And Trevor's the same way. I have a hard time gauging that stuff on television, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So it's hard for me to 100% agree with you on that. Obviously something's off with him. And I don't have a clue as to what it is because I'm not there. I'm not around him. I don't know. I just see kind of what you're seeing as well. And it doesn't look like he's got that spin and that confidence and that zip that he did at Clemson. And I'm sure it has a lot to do with the complexity of the defenses he's facing. Like maybe he just doesn't have that confidence in those throws that he did at Clemson. I'm not sure how much he was really asked to do and see and read there. So maybe we're seeing a little bit of that, just the transition with the mental side that you have to go through when you get to this level. I still think he'll be fine long term. I think that because the talent's all there, right? So there's just going
I
to be a
do
learning
too.
curve. You know, I just
Yeah,
think
I think
it's rookie year. It's a huge transition, especially for a quarterback.
yeah, and I'm not going to sit there and say, hey, look, this is, no, it's over. Not by
Yeah.
any means. But all right, last thing, college basketball misses Vitale, Dakich, and Allison.
Duh. 100%. I have to
Right.
say that, I mean, okay, can I ask you how has it been for you watching these games? Are you like, do you feel a little bitter? Are you like, whatever, I don't care?
No, I'm good.
Good. Okay.
I haven't watched. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. I turned it on and I kind of find it boring. I did
Okay.
not. I was out in Chicago and I didn't see the Villanova UCLA game. But I just no. I got enough to do with this, and I really haven't. How about you?
Yeah. So first of all, and I should say that obviously our thoughts and prayers are with Dickie B, and I know if
Yeah.
anybody can kick cancer's ass, it's him. And yes, I think of him often, and Lorraine and their whole family and what they're going through. Obviously, different reasons for him not being out there right now than us. I find a couple things when I've been watching games lately. I still have a little bit of like a sour taste in my mouth. Be there, you know?
Yeah.
But I have found actually, I feel like the quality of basketball is better right now than it was last year this time for obvious reasons. So I've enjoyed that. I love seeing how many guys are back. I think that's been kind of fun. Like it's these established stars and names that that have all come back. And I think that's been fun to see again. It's been fun to see packed arenas. I just missed that so much last year. So I'm into it. I think the games have actually been really good. Like I thought the Michigan game last night was phenomenal with Seton Hall. So I feel like there's been some fun upsets. I feel like the quality of play is better right now to start the year. So yeah, I'm into it, but I don't know. I don't get full like basketball mode till January. Like I watch games here and there right now, but I'm not like locked in. Oh my God, I got to watch every game.
Yeah. See, when we were doing it and we go to, maybe the Bahamas or wherever you do a game, you're really locked in. And
so you did all those tournaments and I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was always really locked in, but I will be, and there's no question. But to this point, it's been like, all right, hey, look, I got two people here in Stephanie and Lauren that are on my ass every night to get a show on the air. You know what I mean? It's like, oh.
It is interesting. So I went through that when I left the Florida Panthers and then the Miami Marlins. And obviously I was huge into the NHL and Major League Baseball, right? And I knew I was going to miss them and I did. But the further, like as the years went on, the less I found myself following the NHL and Major League Baseball on a regular basis. The first year, absolutely, because you still know all the guys are like invested and you like have these relationships. But I found myself following it less and less. And it's just a product of what else you're working on. And you only have so many hours in a day. So it is funny when you leave a sport that you love and that you cover for a living, how your fandom changes a little bit when you really can just watch it as a fan. And it's not kind of like your lifeblood like it was prior, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I can't afford a second divorce, so I'm making.
You better not. You can knock this one out of the park. You screw this up, we're all gonna have a little talk with you. Lee's the best.
No, she's coming on next.
Yeah, I love it.
Thanks. You coming on every week?
Let's do it. I got nothing else to do. My kid's still sleeping. Is like perfect. I have my coffee and peace and chat with you. It's wonderful. Let's do it.
It's a great morning. It's a great way to start your day.
Great morning.
Thanks, Allison.
You got it, Double D. See you, bud.
All right. It's the great Allison Williams. I'm telling you, she's the best. I'm the best. Working with her and Tarico and Bart Fox and Scott Johnson, man, we had so much fun. Just absolutely great people. All right, I promised her she's joining right here next to me, my wife, the uber talented broadcaster for the Big Ten Network and ESPN, also legendary softball player, All-American at Toledo, legendary coach at Bowling Green, legendary coach at, come on, walk in here as we get this going. She raised her hands. She's walking in. Here she comes in triumphantly. Ladies and gentlemen, Lee Ross will join us when we come back. Hey, welcome. I've got my Bear Bryant hat on. I've also got my beautiful wife, the lovely Lee Ross Dakich. We call her LLRD for those of you that don't know, and that's the lovely Lee Ross Dakich. Lee is a great mother, a wonderful wife. That's first and foremost. But also, Lee, All-American softball player, took the Toledo Rockets to the College World Series, where she was an All-American, alternate on the United States Olympic team, all-time winningest coach at 2 schools as a softball coach, Bowling Green State University and Syracuse University, and now is my wife and a broadcaster for ESPN College Softball and the Big Ten Network College Softball.
Wow.
Yeah.
How do you remember all of that?
I'm pretty good.
You embellish a little bit, but I like it.
What was the embellishment?
Well, no, you're right. I was an alternate for the Olympic team.
I didn't say on the Olympic team. Usually I do.
Yeah. Back in 1996.
Yeah.
Long time ago. But
how many times have you walked in an airport and somebody said, you look like Jennifer Aniston?
It started happening as I got older. So it's been really weird. Like once I turned like 30, 35, I don't know if she became, with Friends and stuff more popular and whatever and other movies, but happens all the time. I had a lady at Target the other day that wanted to take a picture with me because she wanted to show her friend that I looked like Jennifer Aniston. I'm not Jennifer Aniston, but she just wanted to show her friend that I looked like her.
What's your Twitter handle?
My Twitter handle is, I changed it.
Yeah.
I think it's at Coach LLRD.
Yeah.
I changed it. It used to be at Coach at Syracuse, I think. At Coach Ross at Syracuse. At SU, yeah.
And when you go right down the middle is a picture of Lee and a picture of Jennifer Aniston that they had. I think Jennifer Aniston gets asked all the time, are you Lee Ross Dakich?
I know. So what's the difference? What happened at a certain point in both of our lives that she went that way and made millions and millions, and I kind of went,
No, you're with this?
I mean, yeah.
Oh, boy. How could you not?
True.
I think you got better of it.
You're right.
She doesn't have a husband.
No,
She's got money.
Right, money
But her
can't
life's a
buy you
pain
love.
in the ass. You and I go out to dinner. The paparazzi only bothers me. You slide into the back, get us a glass of wine. All right, let's talk some things. I said this earlier. The other day, when did everybody become a frickin' expert on everybody else's business? You were working the other day. UPS guy comes in, gives you a half hour on ivermectin or whatever the hell it is. When did everybody do this?
It's not even that he gave a lecture. He didn't know anything. Like, I feel like everyone, I want to blame social media because I think we blame everything on social media, and here we are on social media.
Yeah, but we got to be tougher than social media.
I feel like people don't want to take the time to actually learn anything for themselves or listen to both sides. They don't want to take the time. They just want to, whatever their favorite personality said or whatever they had heard somewhere, they're just going to spit that back out. Nobody wants to take time to actually look into, the whole Aaron Rodgers listening to Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's not a dumb man. He's an intelligent guy, and he talks to a lot of different people from all walks of life. I think that's the thing. People don't want to talk to people from all walks of life anymore. They don't want to digest a whole bunch of information and then use it for their own best interest.
Would you agree with this? And we haven't really talked about this. I think that people, when they disagree, in the Aaron Rodgers case, they don't want to disagree with what he actually said. Right. They want to pick something to attack him, meaning, every dumbass should listen to Joe Rogan. Right. Instead of saying, what did Aaron Rodgers really say? We do this all the time.
Right.
We don't form our own opinion and have meaningful discussion. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't know where to start to look. So either they don't have time. I mean, think about the average American. They're probably, especially, working hard.
I think the average American is sitting on their ass on social media all day.
Yeah, well,
nobody's working.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying they don't want to take the time to actually do any kind of research. So the easy thing is to follow the crowd, the narrative of, somebody said Aaron Rodgers is an idiot because he listened to Joe Rogan. Instead of going, wait a minute, what did Joe Rogan say? Maybe take the time. So I listened to Joe Rogan, and one episode I listened to was Bernie Sanders. This was way back during the Democratic nominations. And I listened to Bernie Sanders. I never would have listened to Bernie Sanders more than a little clip on TV. It was an hour and a half discussion, and I thought, okay, I get where Bernie Sanders is coming from. Doesn't mean I'm going to vote for Bernie Sanders, no, but I understood, and I can see why he believes what he believes. It just opened up my eyes to a different type of discussion, and nobody wants to do that anymore. I don't know if it's we feel like we're not smart enough, or or we're too lazy. I don't know.
Lazy.
You think you're lazy?
I do, because like on my show once in a while I'll say something because you listen to Glenn Beck.
Yeah.
And you don't genuflect at the altar of anybody.
No.
Except for. No. But, Glenn Beck, as soon as you say, well, I listen to Glenn Beck, what do people say?
Oh, they immediately think that I'm. Yeah,
you're whacked out.
But I listen to other people too.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
And I try to. We listen to Howard Stern.
Right.
Right. You listen to other people, and you kind of take what you think works for you and your life, and you take what doesn't work for you, and then you form your own opinion. And I think that I don't know. I think we're lazy. I think it is.
Is it social media in your mind? Because you pay attention to social media. You're not promoting anything. You're not really that active on social media.
Right.
You read, and okay. Do you think it's why does everybody feel the need to not only have an opinion? Is fine, obviously, but then why do everybody feel the need to criticize everybody else's opinion? What is our need to interject ourselves into everybody else's life? Where does that, is that all social media?
I think that's who we are as humans. Like it's a status thing. It's like I know it's like, I don't want to get like super deep.
Do it.
I feel like we just feel there's always a status. You're always trying to put yourself at a certain level or higher level. So you're always trying to tear somebody else down, which is the worst thing to do, really, because good people and people who are successful lift others up around them. But these are just all, and I hate to say it this way, but a lot of losers just sitting behind a keyboard with nothing better to do and no self-esteem and thinking that that's real life for them, And I think we all know this. I think that most people use social media for the right reasons. They use it like to catch up with family on Facebook, or to just kind of scroll through and see what people are talking about, knowing this may not be the truth. I'm probably getting one side of the story from this person and one side from that person. But, most people use it for that, I think. But we only hear from the crazies. It's like the fringe on each side. That's all we hear from. And that's the part that's, I think, most frustrating, is those people aren't our neighbors. They're not the average people that we see every day or work with, or those aren't the normal people. And we start to look at everybody as the other side instead of our neighbors or normal people.
No, it's true. We pay more attention, I think, and I was guilty of this. I pay more attention to some slap on social media than I did walking around my own neighborhood talking to who lives next to me.
I'm so glad you took a break from Twitter.
Yeah.
Because it was like, you gave so much energy to some
jackasses.
Dorks. Like, no, like, I mean, we use stupid words, dorks. Like, who used to say that?
Well, you do every day.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Hey, dork.
But, I mean, you were kind of getting wrapped up in that and giving them the attention that, they probably had 4 followers. But then after you retweeted it, they might have had some traction.
They might have 10.
Yes,
all
exactly.
Right. Politics. I went off today because I want to know, when are we going to get real people in our offices?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm looking at this guy, Beto O'Rourke, whose real name is like Robert Francis O'Rourke, right? He changes his name. He goes by a new name. He doesn't do that because that's who he thinks he is. He does that to pander to votes. And Ted Cruz said something like, well, you can't win as a liberal, so you got to change your name to Beto and then hide it behind a smile. When are we just going to get real people to become our politicians and care about us as real people?
I don't know if I never paid attention my whole entire life to politicians. I just kind of let it happen and or if it's just getting so bad and they're getting so crooked that now I have to see it.
You have to. It's thrown in your face.
It's so obnoxious. I think it's time. I think it's time that regular people, and I think you're starting to see it on like school boards and local stuff, where normal people who maybe have no experience are just speaking up and running for positions on these boards, because that's where they can have an effect. And I think you have to start there. I think you have to start there and worry about your own community and worry about your school system and whatever influence you can have there, because we do need normal people. I mean, you said your dad was a lobbyist, but I feel like once money got really involved and all the lobbying and then changing, laws for these lobbyists, and I mean, things are just crooked. There's always a reason. There's always a backstory of why a politician has a certain stance.
They're always a backstory
Always.
on the stance, and it's always pandering. And I just like
Yeah.
to see somebody say, "Look, this is the way it is." Like I said earlier today, if I become mayor, by the way, if I do become mayor of Indianapolis,
Yeah,
you okay with being first lady?
I am.
I think
but
you should be the mayor, and I would be the greatest cheerleader husband in the history of the world. Tell you
would
that right
hate-
now.
I think I would hate that job.
Yeah,
though.
it'd be awful.
I'm not a politician, but we need change. Like we need somebody that can.
One thing I wouldn't allow is rioting.
No.
I mean,
no.
you want peacefully protest, that's fine, but we live in Indianapolis, and we live downtown Indianapolis.
Yeah.
And, you can call it a peaceful protest if you'd like. I got video of guys throwing things through windows, graffiti everywhere on monuments, and our businesses haven't come back. Black, white, doesn't matter.
Right.
Those businesses have not come back. Indianapolis is a shithole. So I'm not allowing it. I get passionate about this. It's where we live. It's a complete dump. And everybody told us, well, just wait. Wait for what? An absentee mayor that that has his head up his ass half the time?
Yeah. I mean,
We need people to protect those that pay taxes.
that's right.
Like if you pay taxes and you're a business, and you're generating income for the freaking cities, why are you just allowed to be looted and lose your business? Hey, no one's saying don't peacefully protest. No one's saying that there aren't rights that can be wronged by people standing up. But a freaking what'd we see? Right through Harry and Izzy's. Guy took off the street sign and fired it right through.
Yeah.
That's not peaceful protest. That's crap. And that's what needs to be protected. Sorry, I lost my mind.
No, and I feel like the people who do that type of damage are the ones that really aren't intending to just go protest. They probably have no idea what's going on.
They
They just see a
They
mob.
just show
and-
up to be a
and
mob
go nuts.
mentality.
Yeah.
That has to be stopped.
I
That
agree.
has to be prosecuted. That has to be stopped. And I'm just going. I'm telling you, I would stand right at Memorial or whatever the hell it's called, Monument Circle
Yeah.
downtown, and say, "We ain't doing it here.
Right.
We just are not. You want to do it? We ain't doing it in my city." I just think that we need that. I think it's crap that we don't have. That's just common sense.
It's strong leadership is what it is.
Yes.
And we don't have that. Yeah.
Why do we let, you have a story about Michigan, about a gun store where people, the community got around the gun store to protect the gun store because there were people coming in from other cities to protest this guy and burn him down. And they're like, wait, you're not even from here. You don't even know.
Right.
That is wrong. That's garbage.
Right.
You're from where good people.
Well, I'm a rule
and again,
follower.
And again, this isn't black, white, Republican, or Democrat. It's just people helping people.
Right.
That's it. It's freaking nuts. Were you going to grab my leg down there?
No. And that right there is that your announcement speech right there?
No, it's not. But I think it'd be a pain in the ass. But it's just
It would be.
there's no common sense. There's just freaking no common sense. And you know what we do? This whack job on this side and this whack job on that side. We cater to these.
Cater. Yeah.
Cater, pander. We pander, cater.
Yeah.
To these
pander
idiots.
first, then cater.
Yes, and we bring food.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to talk a little bit of sports here with the lovely Lee Ross Dakich. And if you're mad that we call her lovely, shut up. I want to hear it. She's lovely.
Isn't it funny? So Allison was on before me. Who else was on earlier?
Bobby Carpenter.
Oh, Bobby. And then who was on yesterday? The ladies love Dan.
They do.
We get you. We do.
Jill Savage.
Jill
Women
Savage.
get me. Some idiot
Yeah.
professor gets mad because she's whacked out.
Yeah.
But
That's not-
women get
that's
me.
not real women.
Hey, if you look me up, by the way, I'm a misogynist according to USA Today. I think a racist,
Misogynist.
probably sexist.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Am I sexist?
Oh, yeah. Sure. Because that's what I looked for in a man when I was, looking to get remarried. I was looking
Yes,
at
and you did not have any
misogynist.
options looking the way that you do.
I-
You had none. You had zero options, and you had to settle for the glory that is this. Honest to God. No, hey, but all right, let's get into some sports a little bit.
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know, Lee's daughter, Tegan, is a stud third base woman at Harvard. Her son, Jared, played football at Wabash College and then Allegheny College. When you see women's sport right now, particularly softball, what are you seeing?
So the changes in softball and women's softball are
The popularity is
it's
through the roof.
unbelievable.
It's great.
And you gotta give that to actually, ESPN was the first one
Absolutely.
on that sport that said, we got to put this up because it is a fun sport to watch. It really is. And I know, some of the, like Coach Hutchins at Michigan was one of the pioneers of women's softball. So she never really had the opportunity to play in these types of
Right.
stadiums.
Neither did you.
No, right. We just went out there to play because we loved playing. I mean, and that was it. And we never really expected anything. I mean, I remember I got one pair of socks to wear, and for equipment. It wasn't like basketball, even back in the 80s, 90s. Yeah, we were divas. But the way that it's changed, and I do think that TV had a lot to do with it. I think that just putting it on TV, and then the amount of people that started getting invested in the sport. It's baseball, but quicker. It's faster, so you get all the people who like baseball.
It's loud.
Yeah, it's loud. It's quick. It's and the girls, or the women that play, are completely into the game. I always think, I love college sports. I used to love it a lot more when money really wasn't an issue, because I feel like the passion of just playing really kind of it would shine through, and that's what people wanted to see, was the passion.
I agree.
And you see that with women's softball. You see, the cheering on the side, the high five. These girls know there's really not much for them after to play.
In terms of playing.
They're going to get a college degree and go and do their lives. But as far as playing, there's really not much more after that. There's some leagues, but it's more for the moment. And I think that's really what kind of caught the audience, and just the caliber of competition, the way it's grown.
Can I brag for just a second? The caliber of woman playing at Harvard softball is incredible. They've been in this house.
Yeah.
They've gotten loose in this house, but they're a blast in this house. Remember when they high-fived each other because on a Friday night when we were taking them all to dinner, they had to go finish. Hey, Lee, I can finish my term paper tonight. What the hell is that? It's supposed to be at the disco.
Well, the thing that I appreciate, and I don't think I really appreciated it when I was coaching. I was like, coaching at Syracuse, that's a pretty good academic school, but I never appreciated or even knew that Ivy League schools don't give scholarships. This is all, you're going to get to that school based on your academics, your volunteer work, your community service, all of that. You're going to, test scores, all that stuff. You're going to get to those schools first. They're not going to give you money to play. So these girls are out there playing because they absolutely love the sport. And you think about, when we talk about, Tegan's friends, they're all so brilliant, and they're going to be doctors, and they're going to be whatever. But they take their softball just as serious. And they're not getting paid for it. I think that's the thing I appreciate about it, so much. They are in the libraries. They live at study tables. So I don't think I ever studied in college as much as these guys do in a week.
4-point student.
No, until I found.
Till you found Party on
beer.
Parkside, baby. A pool table in the house. But no, look, I'm a big, and obviously Lee is, we're big advocates for women's sports. I think women's sports is growing. And when I watch volleyball, man, the Big Ten is the best volleyball conference. My niece Emily Eamon is one of the best volleyball, what'd you say, commentators.
Up and coming commentator, yeah,
social
absolutely.
media. So we follow it. She played at Northwestern. And I don't know. I just think what we're seeing is not a revolution. I wouldn't call it a revolution. I would just see an expansion, a growth. Right? Of women's sport.
Definitely. All across the board. And it's just the updates in facilities, that helps girls or women recruit. It's just been kind of cool to see that athletic departments are actually putting money towards sports other than football and basketball. And, you don't expect the same amount. I know as a college coach, I knew my role. I knew when I was a softball coach, I wasn't, people weren't buying tickets to come to my games. We don't have these athletes that are going to bring people to the school, but to be able to at least get more and more as far as facilities and equipment and things like that. That was huge. I think once athletic directors started doing that, actually funding these programs. As far as SEC schools, they get funded in sports like softball way better than, an Ivy League school or Syracuse.
The most amazing, there's been really in my lifetime 2 great coaching feats. One, when I left West Virginia, John Beeline within 3 years had him in the Elite Eight. West Virginia when I was there was a mess. And the other is after going to Syracuse, and in the Northwest, where only Northeast, and only you say the weather is, quote, pristine. Every other human being knows the weather in Syracuse is freaking god-awful. She says it's pristine. And seeing the facilities that they have there, which are absolute garbage. Lee takes her team within like one inning to go to the College World Series and beating Arizona State at Arizona State. Those are the two of the greatest coaching things that I've ever seen in my life. And it's good to see, because that means that softball programs, you had what was a traditional kind of, we have a batting cage,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Very, very, very limited.
That's not
Yeah.
what is there now. And it's good to see the increase, the enhancement of facilities.
Exactly. When you start winning, then you kind of get more. But when I took that job, I was promised a lot of things
Well, of
that
course.
would happen.
I mean, that's, I promised you a lot of things. You're sitting in a basement talking in front of on the internet.
I mean, but really, that just came down to I was a really good recruiter, and I didn't know any better that I didn't have what I needed to get to the World Series. I didn't really know.
Yeah.
We were talking about this last
Yeah.
night. I'm glad I was a little naive when I first started coaching, because I thought I could compete against anybody, as far as softball. Give me bats, balls, let's go,
Just because.
I got a huge recruit, and then other recruits followed. And that's what it all came down to. You get kids that'll buy into a program, you get the right people in the right place, and that's what I love about sports. That's what I love about college sports. Is that on any given day, one team can beat another team. You see that in March Madness all the time.
Saw it last night at number 4 team in the country. We were watching Seton Hall beat Michigan.
Yeah.
Hey, we got to go. You're awesome. Give me a hug.
Thanks.
No, we can't. That's today's show. It's pretty good. Remember, the hot takes of the day we've already had. And before I let you all go, Lee, tonight we're going to win a lot of money. We're going to be moving uptown because Indiana is going to win by double digits over St. John's. Book it. And Michigan State is going to beat the living hell out of Butler. And that's only a 2-point spread. That's a DoorDash bet tonight, baby. Hey, we'll talk to you tomorrow. Thanks for joining us. Thank you, Lee.